Hello, and welcome to our Made Easy webinar series. Today we'll be talking about ERP Made Easy and an overview of ERP Cannabis. My name is Joel Halverson, and I'm the lead architect for ERP Cannabis. And you can see that my contact information is provided on the screen in front of you. So please feel free to contact me after the webinar if you have any questions or would like to discuss ERP Cannabis further. In addition, during the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them. You should have an area on the right side of your WebEx screen in the lower part of the sidebar to be able to submit questions, and we'll have time at the end of the webinar to address those questions. So for today, we'll be going through an overview of the ERP Cannabis solution, and then we'll be doing a demo of the areas and of all of the different areas, modules of ERP Cannabis. So we'll go through them quickly so that we make sure that we cover them all, but hopefully it'll give you a good idea of the type of solution that we've developed for ERP Cannabis. As you can see from this diagram, the ERP Cannabis solution is a complete ERP end-to-end that was developed specifically for the cultivation industry, the cannabis industry. So as you can see from the diagram, financials, including procurement and inventory management, all of the back office type of functionality is included and at the core of the solution. And on the front end, we have the point of sale and customer management capability, which of course is specific to the cannabis industry with the type of requirements that are unique to the cannabis industry. And then on the back end, we have the production planning, which is a core capability of the ERP system. But on top of that, being able to have a cultivation management module, whereby we're able to, for the cannabis industry, specifically manage the type of cultivation, production, and the cultivation environment that happens. And all of that throughout the complete solution is integrated to the back end, to metric or whatever track and trace or compliance system may be required, depending upon your particular location, which state you're located in. And then also we have the ability to manage all of your employees' information, benefits, and employee information, as well as what's needed for payroll and time entry. So all of this, of course, being integrated and linked together, which of course is a key characteristic of an ERP solution, and also being able to on top of all of that, have the reporting and analytics capability so that with all of the information that's processed, we're able to have some flexibility on what information is included for specific customers depending upon their requirements, and then being able to present that in a useful way, whether that be in a standard report, a list type report, or a dashboard, and we'll see examples of that as we go through the demo as well. So just in terms of the overall solution, it is a suite in the box. So it is basically a cloud-based solution that is available in the standard ERP suite, basically out of the box. And of course, on top of that, customizations can be done, but the intent of ERP Cannabis is to have a standard, simplified, out-of-the-box ERP solution to use. But because of that, we have provided with ERP Cannabis a good starting point, but it's built for growth so that we're able to grow with your business as needed, so that, starting out with some basic requirements and adding on top of that over time would certainly be a viable strategy to maximize your ERP investment. And also, as I talked about, analytics are a part of what we do, and being able to provide standard as well as specific analytics depending upon your particular situation. And continuous innovation. The ERP Cannabis solution is built on SAP as the ERP solution. So SAP being a longstanding provider in the ERP space, we certainly know that it's a true and tested platform for ERP functionality. And of course, mobility. So being able to manage with the cloud-based platform, being able to manage from wherever you are and being able to access or provide data as needed. So just in terms of our ERP Cannabis environment, we do have partners that have contributed to the development of ERP Cannabis. Go to the next slide, Jake. So as you can see here, we have SAP, which is our core ERP software partner, being a proven ERP solution provider for over 40 years with hundreds of thousands of customers around the world. So Quintel is the implementation and development partner, and Quintel is a certified partner of SAP and has completed more than 40 implementations in the ERP space. So Quintel has recently focused on the cannabis industry, but also has experience across a number of other industries as well. And BIMSR International is our partner to include the forms, as we call them, which is a primary user interface that includes workflow and document management capabilities. And we will show that in the demonstration so you can clearly see how the solution that BIMSR International has developed really lends to the simplification and standardization of ERP Cannabis. And Hotbox ERP is our solution provider for the cannabis-specific modules, particularly the point of sale, as well as the grow module within the solution. So that's an overview of our ERP Cannabis solution. I'll now move on to the demo part, and I will be sharing my screen. So as you can see, we have the ERP Cannabis Launchpad. So the Launchpad is the access to the various modules included with ERP Cannabis, and based upon the user who is logging into the system, you will have permissions to access different parts of the system. So the Launchpad for every user could potentially be different, as they have different permissions that would allow them to access different parts of the ERP Cannabis solution. So I'm going to start out and log in as a production planner just to show some of the features of ERP Cannabis and how we have it set up. So we have the dashboard includes various tiles, and the tiles provide access to the different parts of the system. You can see that in this case, we have our production applications, or the forms, that are completed. We also have access to the cultivation module and also to our training library, so that that type of support information is available at your fingertips as you're working in the system. We also have various reports. So in this particular case, a production manager, for example, would have access to these types of reports that are shown below: the growth operation report, the process order report, the inventory reports, and a confirmation report. So of course, those can be changed depending upon the specific requirement, but as examples, those are provided. I'm going to first go in to show the cultivation module. And I'm going to go into the grow. So basically what I just did was to connect to a metric sandbox because everything that's done within the Grow module needs to be synced within the compliance system that it's connected to. So in this case, we have the ability to connect to the appropriate metric database and then also manage the data that goes into the different parts of the system. So for example, master data in the warehouse, such as the rooms that need to be set up and of course synced with metric, which you can see the metric status is indicated on the screen. And we also have various strains that can be input. So all of your master data can be set up and managed within ERP Cannabis and then synced to the metric backend. If we move on down to looking at the plant batches, so if you're familiar with the Grow and how the Grow works, plant batches are created, and basically this module allows us to manage the information for the plant batches throughout the entire life cycle. So as you can see, we have a number of plant batches that have been set up with the status synced, the name of the plant batch, the date that it was planted, the strain associated with it, and then the count. And then over on the right, we have various options to be able to move and tag plants, destroy plants, or as you're working on the various plant batches, add materials or activities. So all of that is captured from a costing perspective so that through the core financial module, we're able to have detailed production costing type of analysis to come up with cost of goods sold associated with all of the production that happens on the Grow side. And that's synced with the information that's put in here within the Grow module on the front end. So we're also able then to look at individual plants. And as you can see, we have a number of plants that we can further filter based upon particular IDs associated with the plants, based upon the growth phase, based upon the rooms that they're in, based upon the strains. And then when you select a particular plant, you're able to manage specifically what actions may need to be taken, whether it needs to be moved, growth phase changed, destroyed, create plantings from it for a mother plant, or manicured or harvested. So different actions that can be taken. So in this way, you're managing all the way through the process, all of your master data, all of your growing activities, capturing all of the costs associated with what's happening within your cultivation business. So then we also have the ability to manage on the production side, manufacturing of specific product. So in terms of these applications, I'm going into our forms for production planning, and you can see from here that we have the ability to access various forms. The forms allow us to create essentially transactions that will interact with the back-end ERP system. So for example, I can create a purchase request, and when this comes up, just to give you an idea of how the forms work, I can put in my name and specify the company. We can have multiple companies set up for situations where that's required, and put in information about the purchase that I'm requesting, and then I can go ahead and add particular items, standard items, which would be expensed, or inventory items. So when I click on that form, it comes up, it gives me another set of fields that need to be completed. So it's going out and getting all of the information from the back-end ERP system, providing that information in the drop-downs so that from a streamlining simplification perspective, you can see that we are able to access all of the master data in the ERP system very easily and conveniently through these drop-down menus that are provided throughout the forms that are included as the primary interface for the ERP system. So I can specify all the information that's needed. I can assign a vendor and then add that. So you can see based upon the form that item has been added, and I can add additional items, or I can add documents. That's the document management feature. If I need to attach specifics about what I'm requesting, I can do that at this point, and then I can send it or submit it, and it's going to go through the workflow that I have set up for approving this purchase request. So you can see we have an actual diagram that shows what happens. The request is created and certain people are notified. Someone else has to approve it, and that's where we're at right now. So given the demo environment, I'm going to go ahead and approve my own request, and now that's going to complete the workflow. We have complete auditing of each step associated with that workflow for this particular document or for this particular purchase request. And then go back to the actual document, and you can see going down below with the processing messages that the requisition has been created, and that means that it's been updated and included in the ERP system. So in that way, you're able to easily manage with great flexibility what is happening in terms of creation of data as well as approval of what goes into the ERP system. And then this is all in a document management type of setting, so you're able to easily access and get information either from what is happening currently or what may have happened in the past from these forms that we use throughout the ERP Cannabis solution. So the other thing then, just going back, that's an example of a purchase request that a production manager may have submitted, but then we also have the ability through these forms to actually create what's needed from a production perspective, being able to create a recipe, being able to create a process order, or being able to provide a confirmation. So again, just as an example, I'll put in a confirmation for a particular process that's ongoing, and I'll go ahead and select the particular process order that we're going to use for post some activity against. And I'll go in the back and select 803. It's going to come up and say this was a product and we were targeting a quantity of 3, and I can go ahead and add in time and materials, so I can specify based upon what's been set up for the recipe for this particular product what it is that I did. I may, for example, have planted clones, and it took me 5 hours to do that, and I may have used materials such as soil to be able to do that. So it's going to come up, give me the option to select a particular type of material that may have been used and put in the quantity and the unit of measure. I can also specify the batch if that's needed. In this case, it's not, and then go ahead and add that. So now I put in my confirmation for activity against that particular process order, and then I can go ahead and send it. So in this particular example, we're looking at a process order that this can be used for any type of product that you're making, whether it's an edible, whether it's a semi-finished good that's going to be used in a subsequent production activity. So whatever the case might be, it's very flexible to be able to use it for a number of different things. So I quickly just want to now go out of the production area. We'll go into the sales area and just quickly give an overview of, from a sales manager perspective, what it might look like. So again, I've logged out as the production manager. I'm going to log back in as the sales manager. but now I have a different set of tiles to be able to look at different information. So I can, for example, use what we call our apps to be able to track specific information about sales orders. These would be wholesale level of sales orders. So you can see for this particular customer, we have a couple of sales orders outstanding, and it gives the specifics regarding the status and the details associated with those sales orders. So we have a number of different apps that can be used in that way. And then we can also, from this point, for example, access the point of sale system. So I'm going to go into the point of sale, which I'll need to log in to the specific location, log into the rec dispensary, and now this is going to change. And I'll have information regarding dispensary operations. So we have the initial dashboard. Dashboards can be changed to whatever your specific requirement might be, but you can see there's lots of information that can be provided on the dashboard for the point of sale. And then just to get actually into the point of sale and how that looks in terms of what a bud tender would see on their end, we'll go to the point of sale terminal. And it comes back up and gives me information about customers that may be in the queue. It's going to come up and give me, for this particular customer that's in the queue, we've already added some products. You can see all of the products are available to the right, and we can scroll through and pick out the ones that may be applicable, have the ability to provide different discount codes as needed, barcode, RFID type of integration is available to easily scan and have products added to a particular customer that's available. So complete point of sale functionality that again is integrated to the back end so that all of that activity that happens within the dispensaries is accounted for as part of the complete financial picture for the customer. And then we also have a different set of sales applications, and this would be primarily used for wholesale types of transactions where using, again, the simplified forms, we're able to go through and create a sales order, create a delivery associated with that transfer or with that sales order, and then the subsequent invoice for what's being sold. So you can see those various forms are shown here. And again, it's just the same look and feel that we've already seen from our other examples that we were looking at on the production side, where we would select the company, the customer, and then the particular details that are line item details that are going to be included in terms of what's being sold to that particular customer that should be included on the sales order. So again, from a sales perspective, using the point of sale specific for the cannabis industry, using the core sales and delivery functionality of the ERP solution, and being able to cover all of your requirements in that way in a very standardized and simplified way. So that covers the production area, that covers the sales area. I'm going to have Ben now take over and talk a little bit about the financial back end and some of the other types of capabilities in more of the back office area. So we'll transfer it over to Ben.
Right. Hello, everyone. I am Ben Halverson, and I'm part of the purchasing, finance, and development team for ERP Cannabis. And here I have the Launchpad for a finance manager user. And as you can see, there are tiles or applications here defined by role assignments specifically for finance transactions and reports. So here I'm going to scroll up, and you can see under the finance manager group, you'll see tiles that are for super user access to the back-end system. So I'm going to select the general manager tile here. So in these manager dashboards here are customized for super user role tasks. So for example, this dashboard would be specifically for users that would maintain the general ledger accounts for your organization. So you can see here that this user will be able to process journal entries, open and close periods, year-end processes, month-end processes, controlling and costing transactions and reports, and also review general ledger reports. So I'm going to select on the account detail line items button here. So this report would show you all the transactions that will be posted to all GL accounts, a range of GL accounts, or a specific GL account. So in this example, I'm going to click and search for the transactions posted to contract services and other services. So I'm going to double click this, and I want to review for company code 1000, and I'm going to select all items and execute the report. So you'll see here that all line items that were posted to this specific general ledger account will be available for review, and it will sum up the total account amount down below. You'll see here that it's for $16,577.48. And you're able to drill down to a certain line item document where you can review the details of this document posting. So you'll see here that this certain document was posted to the Amazon vendor account for contracts and other services. So I'm going to go back to the main dashboard page. I'm going to look at another controlling and costing report for process orders, as Joel has shown for the production planning module. So if a user that maintains the general ledger accounts would like to review the cost elements assigned to process orders, they would go to this transaction. So I'm going to select controlling area 1000. And I'm going to run this report from the beginning of the year to the current date, or to the end of the month. Select execute. And you'll see here that all cost elements that are assigned to process orders or production orders would be available for review in this report. And if necessary, if the user would like to generate a spreadsheet of a certain report from the backend, they would be able to select an icon for the spreadsheet or right-click and select spreadsheet. So now I'm going to show you another dashboard for accounts payable process. So I'm going to click on the accounts payable manager tile. So here you'll see that this dashboard will be specifically for accounts payable transactions and reports. So this user would be able to process invoices, process payments, maintain vendor accounts, year-end processes for accounts payable, review purchase orders, and also check register and vendor line items. So I will click on this button here to review vendor line items. So here, similar to the GL account line items report that I just showed, you will be able to review certain line items posted to a vendor account. So here I will select a vendor account that I want to review. I'll select vendor A1, and I want to look at company code 1000. And I'm going to look at all items for this vendor. So I'll click execute, and this will generate a report for all items posted to this vendor for review. So going back to another manager tile here, we can review the fixed assets in the system. You'll see that this certain dashboard is particularly for asset management. You can see we can review reports and create assets, acquire assets, and depreciate assets. Here I'm going to select display asset. And I'm going to select the asset that we want to look at. We're going to look at this asset account for centrifuge machine. I'm going to select master data. And you'll see here that the general data for the asset will be able for review here with the account determination, the serial number, and the quantity. We can see the cost details for this asset here, which plant or facility we want it, which department or cost center it's assigned to. We can see the origin of the vendor and the depreciation details. So if I wanted to review the asset values, I would click on asset values here. And you'll see all the posted values for this particular asset with the acquisition value and the depreciation amounts posted for this asset. And as well, in this transaction, you'll be able to see the equipment assigned to this asset, the vendor, cost center, the purchase order, and the GL account that should be shown on the balance sheet for this asset. Going back to the main dashboard page, if I want to review a report of an asset, I would just, or of all assets, I'm going to click on the assets by number. And you'll see that I can review the report for all assets that have been entered and acquired. And you can see I can review the accumulated depreciation of the asset and also the book value. All right, so moving on to I'm going to show you a application for the finance manager where a user can review the status of a purchase order under the track purchase order tile here. So you'll see a list of all recent purchase orders that have been processed will appear here with a status of ordered, delivered, invoiced, or paid. So as you can see, this purchase order has been ordered but not delivered or invoiced yet. If I wanted to review all purchase orders for a certain vendor, I can select a filter for none, and I can enter a vendor name here, for example, Amazon. And you'll see that a list of all Amazon purchase orders will appear for review with their status. So now, as well as these dashboard applications here, there's also reports for the finance manager. So if I wanted to review a report for open vendor invoices, I would select this tile under the Executive Reports group. And you'll see here that a list of all open invoices will appear here with their vendor details and invoice details. So now that we have looked at the Finance Manager Launchpad, I will now go into a user that will have the reports, all available reports assigned. And as you can see here that we have multiple standard reports available for many of your business needs that are flexible for customization. Our reporting team is able to create customized reports as you request. And for example, I'm going to select the balance sheet report. There we go. So certain reports will require selection prompts. So here I want to review the balance sheet report for company code 1000, and I'm going to run the report. And you'll see that the balance sheet by company report will appear with short-term assets, long-term assets, other assets, liabilities, and equity. We also have dashboards available under the reports group where we'll have visuals to display data from the backend. So for example, I selected the cost of goods sold dashboard, and you'll see here that we have graphical visuals and a table here to display data for cost of goods sold. I'm going to select the supplies inventory report under the operational reports for users that would usually maintain day-to-day operational data. So while that's loading, I'll just go over some of the additional reports that we have. So we have process order reports, vendor reports, purchase order reports, additional inventory reports. We also have income statement or P&L reports here, and other dashboards as well. So here you can see the supplies inventory report with the list of materials, the material descriptions, the category of the materials, either raw materials, semi-finished, or finished goods, the facility and location of where the material is stored, and the quantity available with the unit of measure, material price, and price unit. And here you can select the arrows to access multiple records of the report. And you're also able to filter or export the report in a spreadsheet, for example, if that will meet your needs. All right, so that is the reporting functionality for ERP Cannabis, and now we can move on to the ESS or employee self-service functionality.
All right, thank you, Ben. So as you can see from what Ben had demonstrated, he was working primarily at the super user access, so having more access to the ERP system, for example, than what a user may have that is allowed to use the forms, which is what I had demonstrated previously. So again, simplifying so that users are able to have access to what they need, but then being able to streamline that so that based upon that need, they're able to use specifically what it is that they need on their and have available for them on their Launchpad. But every employee would have access to these tiles that you see for the employee self-services. So with this, employees are able to manage their own information through the My Services tile. So they can put in information at that point regarding their bank account, for example, or they can put in information regarding their elections for withholding, or their personal information regarding address, telephone number, personal email address, those types of things. So then under the My Timesheet is where time can be entered. We have two different options, the actual regular timesheet versus a time clock type of application that's also available. But as you can see here, we have the ability to create a new entry. So if we go to yesterday, we'll have to put in an entry for a day that has been completed. If we want to put in a complete 8 hours, for example, so we can specify in the duration field the number of hours that were worked, and then put in a note if necessary. And then down below, the time that's being entered can be assigned to particular cost elements. So again, being able to use the information for accurate reporting from a P&L perspective, or being able to use this information for as part of the costing analysis for the products that are being produced by your company. So various options for how this is set up, but having employees able to manage their own time entry, of course, is valuable from a number of different perspectives, but certainly from a payroll perspective, and having all the information in the system on a timely basis makes timely payroll possible. So going back to the tiles then, you can see that we also have access to team calendars, so being able to look at what others on your team may be available or not at a particular day. And you can see there's different categories associated with team members and whether they're working, non-working, time off, birthdays, anniversaries, holiday, whatever the case might be, that can be set up and useful for having an overview of your peers. And then going back to the tiles, you can see that there's also the ability to look at pay stubs. So if we click on My Pay Stub, it'll come up with the information. All of your pay stubs for the employee are available. Then they can, of course, review it online, or they can open it as a PDF and be able to use it in whatever way they may need for their own purposes. So complete functionality available, including manager self-service, so that as a manager, I can have employees assigned to me. And for those that are assigned, I can have the ability to review and approve their time as well. So there's lots of flexibility there as well. So being able to review your team and approve all of their time. And of course, that's optional, so it's not required, but certainly available so that that can be done as needed. And then team services as well. So as a manager, I can look at what's happening with my team and make sure that I have appropriate personnel available for whatever may need to be done on a daily basis. So that really covers all of the functionality for ERP Cannabis. We've gone through the whole production area. We've gone through the sales area. We've looked at super user access in the financial area. We've looked at the reporting, both the standard and how we can customize reporting. And then the employee self-services and being able to have employees have their own portal for managing their information. So with all of that, of course, that may not all be needed as part of your particular situation, depending upon size of your company, the type of company, the stage of development that you may be at, the number of employees, whatever the case might be. we want to make sure that we're flexible in terms of how it is that you may look at starting your investment with an ERP solution. So Jake, if you can share your screen, we'll cover the Flex plan. So we have different levels available, and of course, as we work with customers, we can identify specifically or make recommendations on what may be needed, but we have different levels. With ERP Select, you are able to select the module or modules that might be applicable. So it may be that as a dispensary, I just need a point of sale solution to get up and running, or as a cultivator, I just may need cultivation, or as a producer, I just want to be able to manage inventory and produce product and have that all streamlined within the organization, within your organization. So the next level would be what we call our Lite option, ERPC Lite, and this is basically our standard streamlined out-of-the-box ERP solution that basically comes with or would have available everything that's needed from an ERP perspective, but of course you would be able to set it up as needed to meet your specific requirements, but that would include the core financials as well, and the ability to have everything integrated on a common financial platform for analysis and reporting purposes. And then ERPC Max is intended for larger entities that may want a full ERP implementation. Of course, this is available and something that has been done for many, many customers, large customers over the years. And having that level of full implementation type of capability is available, and just depending upon the specifics of your situation, it may make sense. But with these different options, we would work with you and come up with an appropriate plan and work with you on what would make the most sense. So with that, we can go ahead and open it up to any questions. If you have a question, please feel free to submit it. And I'm not seeing that there are any questions coming up, so I would like to thank everybody for attending our Made Easy webinar today. We will have a monthly Made Easy webinar, and you can find the information about our webinar series on our website. And you can also contact me directly and get additional information either about the ERP Cannabis solution specifically, or any of our partners that we had identified previously. So BIMSR International or Hotbox ERP and SAP, as well as Quintel. So any of those partners that may be part of a requirement or a need that you may have, we of course would be happy to share additional information and contacts with you. And then just in terms of the overall ERP Cannabis solution, as I said, please feel free to contact me, and we'd be happy to schedule a time for more specific discussion or a more detailed demonstration on the full capabilities of ERP Cannabis. So thank you for attending, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again.